Hello, we're now into Halloween. I've got a picture of my sort of small daughter on the screen to help me to look upwards a bit more. The camera's not in a very good place. So we're into Halloween, which is All Hallows Eve. The Celtic name for this is Samhain, Samhain, means the end of harvest and the beginning of winter. We're coming into the darker days. The clocks have gone back, haven't they? And well, in the UK they have anyway. And we have to start putting fires on and putting lights on and staying indoors. It's cold and wet and windy. So we're into the darker days really. And of course in medieval times that brought all sorts of fears up to people. They used to think about witches and demons and ghosts, but of course there wasn't so much light to be had. They only had candles, lots of shadows and things that go bump in the night sort of thing. So it's a bit of a doer time of year, I think. Scorpios like this time of year, I guess, because it's their birthday time. So it is a shadowy time for traditionally. So, but there is a very positive side. Well, it's not positive so much as more kind of a Christian side, really, I suppose, not so fearful. But there is a celebration of the prayers for the departed. All Hallows Eve, that's what it really means, and people pray for the departed, and it's much more kind of in tune with caring and positivity. And I can remember a little story coming up. I went to the Franciscan Friary for a week. I've been there several times down in Dorchester. The Franciscan monks and their brown robes, and it's very it was a lovely time there actually, because they don't really accept women. I was just a visitor. They can't cook for toffee and I used to do their gardening for them. I used to love it. And of course at one weekend I was there for All Hallows, which was interesting to say the least, because we all processed down from the church into the bottom part of the garden where their departed were buried and said prayers. It was really quite beautiful actually. So that was more positive than the other side of All Hallows or Halloween, and I enjoyed that. So it was a completely new way of looking at things. So even now, you know, this time of year I always think of those that have passed on and say a little prayer, and you know, it's just a nice way to connect with other forces really. And that reminds me another story I can tell you of a time that I was living in a lodge house, which is quite isolated and very haunted actually. That's another story. But this particular time I was in the garden and doing a bit of digging, and I came across a little skeleton. Well, it seemed like a skeleton, lots of small bones. They weren't animal bones. I was a little bit apprehensive about this, so I thought, well, what shall I do? It's no good reporting it because the property was extremely old, probably Victorian, I would think, if not more than that, and it was very haunted. But this little burial was quite sweet, and I guess in those days babies used to die and be buried in the garden. You know, there was no means of churches and funerals. People couldn't afford them. So I decided to get my little prayer book out and do a little ritual. And I stood over the site where the bones were buried, and I said a prayer for the dead. It was actually quite moving, really. I felt I came into my own, one of my past lives maybe, as the high priestess, saying this prayer for the departed, and I felt quite moved by it because the feeling around was quite beautiful. And so I haven't forgotten that. So this time of year is about remembering those that we have lost. And of course you've got November the 11th, isn't it? Yeah. Well, you've got firework night, which is poor old Guy Fawkes. That's a bit of a macabre thing, isn't it? And then you've got bonfire night. Bonfire night's the 5th. Then you've got the armistice, I'm going to say solstice, the armistice on the 11th of November, which is remembering those that died in the World Wars. I mean, that was a horrendous loss, and people wear their poppies, which I think represents the blood, you know, and the remembrance of in the fields, the poppy fields, where they've all died and we buried some of them. So it's altogether a bit of well, I suppose it's an ending of some things and beginning of others. You know, we have lots of very interesting energies about at the moment, bringing up all sorts of memories for us, you know, the past and the present. And for me personally, you know, it's a time of Well, I don't know, drawing the curtains and being in. I quite like being in anyway. I live on my own and I've been on my own for 5 years, well, 30 years actually, since I left my husband, but 5 years of really complete isolation. And it's difficult. Yes, it's difficult at times, but it has taught me a lot too. I've had lots of chance to sort of catch on myself and inner healing and sorts of things from reading and lots of positive things about it too. So I don't mind this time of year. I don't mind the darker side, and I think it's not to be feared really. We have to accept it. It's there, and the shadow is there as well as the sun. And of course, when the sun comes up, it shows up the shadows. So it's a time really of reflecting, I think. Sitting by the fire, getting your chestnuts in, start to save up for Christmas and do some reflecting. So perhaps on that note, I shall say goodbye. Goodbye.